Great. Everybody, welcome to the live stream. We got a lot of things to talk about. Just like the thumbnail and the title suggests, there is some bad news for Russia as the gold that they have been storing is not able to be sold. So we're going to take a look at the bad news for Russia, and I think it's actually good news for crypto and digital assets, more specifically Bitcoin. Also take a look at how Russia banks are actually adopting digital assets and they're actually pushing things forward. Then we're going to take a look at a Mike NOVOGRATZ price prediction and why price predictions they're only good for one thing, and that's hype. Outside of that, they're worthless. And then we'll just do a quick Q&A at the very end, 5 questions in 5 minutes, and we'll go over all those things at the very conclusion of the news. So first of all, if you're here for the live stream, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. If you're watching the recording, just know that all the timestamps are underneath, so you can skip around, do whatever you want to, but everything's in a linear motion, so it just makes sense just to watch all the way to the end. And then just so you know, we do the news in about 15 or 20 minutes, then we do the Q&A for 5, and then we do the conclusion, and that's it. And lastly, check out danteachescrypto.com, 100% free, all that good stuff. So that's the intro spiel. Let's jump right into it, take a look at the actual market. So it's not a bad day. I mean, we're almost at 2 trillion. That's pretty damn good, I think. We're almost at, I think we hit 42K at some point for Bitcoin. Ethereum's gone up, which is fantastic because that means I don't get my margin calls for the loans for Celsius, which is great. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and watch the video where we talk about how we purchased this house here in Puerto Rico straight cash. And I'll link that at the very end. Also, Tether nobody really cares. Everything's up across the board. Terra's doing great as usual, 9.7. Solana is good. But the big winner today is Avalanche. So congratulations. 13%. It's 26% for the week. So congratulations to all the Avalanche holders. I don't think it's really beaten that in the last 24 hours. So it's looking pretty good. So all right, that's what's going on in the market. Let's jump into the story. And I think this is the story that it gives me pause because there's good news and it's bad news and there's good news. And it's all about how you look at it and how you see things are going in the macro sense. And I'm going to explain in a second. So there was a great article and it came out and talks about how Russia has 140 billion stockpile of gold and they can't sell anywhere. And it's all because of sanctions and all because of the shutdowns. And I think when you take a look at the narrative of gold as far as a store of value, well, not so much. Before any gold bugs hate on me, I own gold, I own silver. But it really is tough when you have sanctions across the world and you can't move it. Another thing is I mean, just moving it physically. Look at those. I don't know how, I've never felt a gold bar. My brother buys gold and he says it's quite heavy. So I'm just thinking to myself, if I had to move that anywhere, like if I'm just like a refugee going across the lines, this is not where I want to move. I want to remember 12 words and that's about it to move my Bitcoin. Anyhow. But this is where it really comes down to why I think that CBDCs aren't going to work. And I'll tie it all together. So this was an article from Business Insider. Russia has 140 billion stockpile of gold. Did I say million or billion? Billion of stockpile. But no one can buy it. No one wants to buy it. No one can buy it. So the 5th largest stockpile of gold in the world. Let me say that again. The 5th largest stockpile of gold in the world belongs to Russia. Valued nearly 140 billion. As with oil, sanctions are making it very difficult for Russia to trade the precious commodity. And before we go on, I'm under no pretense that somebody's not going to buy some really cheap gold if they have to. I mean, I think that we can all agree that would probably happen in some way, shape, or form. But it just limits your options as to what you can do because as great as gold is and it's off the grid, it really makes it tough to move things. So also demand for gold is still high within the country as the ruble has crashed to record lows. And this got me thinking about certain criteria and what's going on right now. So first of all, if you don't know, this is the ruble. You can find this on finance.yahoo.com. Just search ruble and today's price. And you can see, and everything goes against the dollar. Let me go back again. Everything goes against the dollar. So it's roughly 103 rubles to a dollar, 106.7 to dollar. And over a day, it doesn't look too bad, right? Although it's kind of weird over here. So first of all, let me blow this up so you can really see it. So this is over 5 days. All right. So gosh, where were we at? 112. Now we're at 104. Okay, not too bad. Take a look at the 1 month and you kind of see what's going on here. And then because, I mean, how long is the Ukraine invasion been? 3 or 4 weeks? Let's take a look at 6 months. Now we get the big picture. Now we can see this is not looking good. 70 for the dollar, now all the way up to 138. So imagine going to your store and going, I want to buy I want to buy a really cheap TV. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess it was really cheap. It was $1. I want to buy rice, right? Okay, it's 76 rubles. All right. And then the next day, or 75, or that's in February, you go back to the store roughly a week later, and it's almost, well, here will be double. It's double what you have to pay for it. That's not good. That's really not good. I think that's a big problem. So when they say over here that demand for gold is still high when the country as the ruble has crashed to record lows, sure, I can definitely see it, because if you have your money in rubles in Russia, that's got to be pretty disheartening, to say the least. Okay, so the huge reserves of the precious metal were built up over the past decade and a half, and were intended to be a sort of economic insurance policy for the country. Last week, London's gold marketplace, the most apparently important center in the world for bullion, banned all bars from Russian refineries. Russia's massive gold supply is one of the few remaining assets that Putin can use to keep his country's economy from falling even further. This is Maine Senator Angus King. And by sanctioning these reserves, we will further isolate Russia from the world's economy and increase the difficulty of Putin's increasingly costly military campaign. So here's the question I have for you watching this video. I am not about making people within the country suffer for the idiocy or the hubris of the presidents of those countries. I mean, that's not what I would think that we'd all can agree on. We don't really want to punish the people that really have no part in this. However, when you take a look at this story and you see how economic sanctions can be worked out, and you can kind of see like, okay, well, this would make sense why, Bitcoin would probably be a pretty good hedge and a store of value for the Russian people. I'm going to ask you a question. If you did away with the ruble and you did away with fiat and you just did away with gold, you really can't, but if you could, and then you just had the world reserve currency as Bitcoin, how could you get around what's going on with the Ukraine without sanctions? How could you limit trade, or would it all just be an all-out war? Because if you're really looking at what's going on in Ukraine, it's kind of these economic sanctions, and that's pretty much what we did in the 80s, 70s, well, actually, 1954 to 1984, 86 for the Cold War with Russia. It was all economic sanctions, and we kind of ground them to dust. Sorry, that's pretty much what America did. I didn't do it. Reagan did it, and the other presidents did. So if we don't have that ability to do those things, and we just have Bitcoin as the world reserve currency, that's the great thing of decentralization. You can't really step in and say you can't do these things. Now, you can do that with a centralized exchange. But I think when you see this story, it's bad for Russia because they wanted that gold to be able to sell it. Now they cannot sell it. They'll probably sell it to somebody at a probably big discount or a discount. And that would actually lead to Bitcoin. However, when Bitcoin comes in, what can you do with that? It's just something to think about in the back of your head going, I wonder how that would actually work. And then the other thing is this, is that if I was Russia, I'd be pretty ticked off right now, because if I'm looking at gold, just specifically gold, if I wanted to sell, this would be the time. It's like house prices in the entire world. If you could not sell your house right now, wouldn't you be a little ticked off? Because you're like, damn it, the prices are like super high. It's a seller's market and I can't sell it. It's the same thing here with gold. Look at over the last 5 years, the price of gold and where it's been. If you're going to sell anything, it's right now, baby, because if not, I mean, if you look at, gosh, here's where it was before. What is this? This is 2011. This is the last time it was even sniffing $1,900. And now you have it over here at almost $2,000. So yeah, if I was Russia, I'd be pretty ticked off. But yeah, so again, this is bad news for Russia. They can't sell their gold. I'm sure they'll sell it at some place, at some point, but they don't have the options open. We'll see how it all works out. But this leads me to my next point. Russia banks are really pushing digital assets. And again, I think this is leading to some sort of mass adoption. So here's the story that we have. So Russia's Sberbank, I hope that's how you say it, receives license to issue digital assets. So Russia's central bank has granted the country's biggest lender a license to begin issuing digital assets. That's great. Sberbank is under duress by U.S. sanctions over the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict. And sure. Those assets issued on the bank's digital platform will be recorded and circulated via a distributed ledger tech system, ensuring data security and data immutability. So I want to back up real quick. Those assets, whatever these assets are, and I'm thinking, and I can't assume anything. The assets that they're issuing on the bank's digital platform, I'm going to guess this would be the big ones, right? This would be the Bitcoins, the Ethereums. I don't think they're talking about the digital ruble. Again, why I don't think the CBDCs will actually work, because I mean, would you use a digital ruble? Would you want to be a part of the digital yuan? Would you want to, if you're in China, would you want to be a part of the digital dollar? No, you wouldn't. You'd probably want to go someplace where nobody has control and everything's decentralized and there's no centralized figure. Like, we can't just go to Satoshi Nakamoto's office and go, hey, I'd like to speak to the manager. It doesn't work like that. That's why I think there'd be more of a leniency towards that. But not to get off point here, when they talk about this will be recorded and circulated via distributed ledger technology, they're not saying exactly what they're using. I would assume it'd be a centralized play, just like the digital yuan, but we'll see. Random companies will be able to issue their own digital assets, providing they prove they have the cash requirements. Now, I'm not for sure if they're talking about digital assets as far as like they're going to create their own on some blockchain, maybe like creating their own, I don't know, token or coin on the Ethereum network, or are they buying up other cryptos and then saying, here's the cash requirements, and we want to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and that's what we're going to use for our monetary base. I don't think that's how it's going to work, though. Companies will also be allowed to use digital assets issued through the bank's information system, which will position them to invest their currently idle funds to generate income. There's your DeFi. Companies will be able to make their first transaction on our blockchain platform 1 month from now. On our blockchain platform 1 month from now. Sergey Popov, director of the Transaction Business Division. So again, this is almost like the same way that China does it. They're like, hey, we don't like Bitcoin, but we're big fans of blockchain technology. And when I say blockchain, we want a centralized ledger. And that's what we're going to go for. So when they're talking about blockchain tech, there's a big difference between blockchain technology and cryptocurrency digital assets, because it really can be centralized. So then this was interesting. Sberbank lost 95% of its value on the London Stock Exchange at the beginning of the month. Of course, that was when the invasion began. The lender has the largest market share of savings deposits in Russia and is the country's primary credit issuer. And then it gets down to the nitty-gritty, which is on Thursday, a bipartisan group of senators introduced new legislation aimed at ensuring Russia remains largely cut off from global financial infrastructure. And again, it goes back to the same point I said. If you don't have them on the SWIFT system, if you don't have them on the traditional finance, and you just boot them out, and it forces them to adopt digital assets, how does that work? How does that work as far as saying, I don't think you can sanction? I think it'll be a very interesting time. And I think this is one of those things that could push more for mass adoption, but there's repercussions for everything. Well, interesting about that in the comment section. Let's go on to our last piece. This was good. NOVOGRATZ and its price predictions. And it's good because I'd like to talk about a couple of things on Mike here. So Mike, never met him. Seems like a good guy. Mike NOVOGRATZ expects Bitcoin to hit 500K in 5 years. Take that with a grain of salt, and we'll go over this in detail. So he was on, I think it was MSNBC or something like that, and he says the Russian ruble has depreciated over 90% in the last 10 years, and the Turkish lira the same. I'm not for sure that's true, because if I take a look over here, he's talking about 10 years. I can take a look in 5. It's at 56. Now it's at 103. If I can max out, I can go back to 2004. It was at 28. Now it's 103. So, I mean, it's depreciated. We'll say that. And NOVOGRATZ said, Bitcoin is a lifeline to people in countries with really poor stewardship of the economy. And that's why he quotes, of course, Turkey and Russia as well. And then he talks about, hey, Bitcoin could hit $500,000. And I think this is where everybody's ears perks up. Like, really? Price goes up? I'll invest in that. But wait. 5 years out, if Bitcoin is not at 500,000, then I'm wrong on the adoption cycle. We see an adoption cycle that accelerates. Bitcoin grew so much faster last year. Crypto grew than the internet. Did its best years in the 90s. I see this going viral everywhere. So first of all, take it with a grain of salt. 500,000, sure. Remember last year, everybody thought Bitcoin was going to 150,000, even me. How far did it get? 69K. Why? Well, the models were right. We thought for sure. Didn't work out like that. Can it happen? Sure, it's crypto. I mean, it could be 500,000 next week. I have no idea. But I will say what he's talking about here as far as adoption, he is onto something. This is a nice little post. This is from World Bank. The World Bank puts this out, internet versus crypto adoption. And on the top, you can see like the years when the internet really started to flow from 1990, 91, 92, 93, 95, 96, 97, 1998. And over in here, we can take a look at crypto adoption, 2014, 2021, 22, 23, 24. So what they're talking about here is total users in millions. In 1998, we had somewhere between 100 million and a billion people. Let's say 200 million. And that's the same thing they're talking about as far as with internet adoption. I don't think it's really taking off as fast as the internet. I think it's roughly about the same. But if we can extrapolate, because it's pretty been following just along the same linear timeline, year to year to year to year to year. If that's the case, we can get to around a billion, roughly, in 2025, 26, somewhere around there, which would, and then of course, if we have the more total users, usually that means price goes up because people are investing, and then more people invest, then they have more hodling, hopefully, and you can see it like that. So this was the same thing that Kathy Woods over at ARK Investments said the same thing. She sees about 1 billion people into crypto in around 3 to 5 years. So I can see that. It makes sense. But I will actually go even a little bit further, take a look at technology S-curves and how that arranges to people trying to spread disinformation. So this you can see of an S-curve as how things come in. Not too long ago, electricity wasn't even a thing. 1905, somewhere around there, electricity adoption, 1900s, 1800s, going to 1900. So you can see the rate of adoption as far as an S-curve. It took a little bit of time, and this is on the very left-hand side here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but it goes up, then it kind of comes into like the U.S. household percentages. That's on the left, 20, 40, 60, 100. It took until Jesus, criminy Christmas. It took until 1950 to 100% of people get electricity? No? Okay, sure. And then over here, this is the automobile and this blue dots. And this was in 1915. And it took all the way until, get out of here, 1990 for the majority of people. Well, I can kind of see that because, not to trigger anybody, but I think... I'm not going to say it. So anyhow, then radio adoption, S-curve, took quite a time. It rose up, but then it took a long time for people to get there. Then you had the, what is this, 1970s, the cell phone. 1960s, 70s? No, that's not right. Oh, color TVs. Yeah, it took a while. And then over here, you've got internet and crypto and cell phones. So for all these times of adoption, you have to understand one thing. The people that are here to gain the most or want to stay in power are always they're going to go against what this new technology is. Here's a case in point. So let's just go all the way back to electricity. So if we take a look here, this is a scare piece in the 1910s, 1905s, 1910s. And of course, this was about electricity and the death that it would cause. And it was just going to be the worst thing of all time. Well, who would put that in? Well, who would probably not gain when electricity comes in? I'll let you figure it out for yourself. Also, here's other things for ban the automobile, 1920, 1915, 1920 or so, and how it was going to destroy everything. And of course, kill everybody because there was all these automobiles out there, and they were, of course, going to just wreak havoc. Then you have telephone industry moves to ban internet phone software. This was just like voice over internet protocol, not cell phones per se, but you get the drift. And of course, who would not gain from internet phone software? I'll let you be the judge of that. And then also, here's another one from Amazon. This one, Barron's, the Dow Jones Business and Finance Weekly, and they talked about just what a massive failure Amazon is. And it says the idea that Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos has pioneered a new business is silly. He's just another middleman, and the stock market is beginning to catch on to the fact. It's the same thing we've seen with crypto and Bitcoin digital assets again and again and again and again, but it just keeps repeating because the people that are going to gain, they don't want these things to come through. And that is just my opinion. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section. And that will conclude that piece. And I just want to say one last thing here. As far as predictions, I'll be honest with you. There was a tweet from Oakenshield, and he says, "Hey, Digital Asset News put out his price predictions, and I am not immune to making bad price predictions. And so just so you know that price predictions, again, you can predict and you can try, but it is just a crystal ball type of thing. No one knows where the price is going. And that's why, even as great as traders are, I'm not here to trade. I'm here to look 3, 4, 5 years out. That's why I dollar cost average. That's why I get into it. And even my price prediction, I thought Bitcoin's going to 150K. That didn't work out. Ethereum to 10K. I thought Chainlink would go to 35. Actually went to 50. That was pretty good. And then Cardano, I said was going to 3. Actually hit that. But then some other ones like Tezos and Stellar didn't work, and Polkadot did. And then of course Voyager was my big bad one where I thought it was going to $30, but I thought I would do pretty well. And when I called, it was 29 cents, went to $7, and now it's like $2 or $3. So it didn't work out. So just remember, take it with a grain of salt. These price predictions are great for hype, and that's pretty much about it. Anyhow, damn, 20 minutes. So that's it for the news today. So if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. Tell me why. I'll try to fix it. Go from there and hit that subscribe button. So that concludes the news part. Let's do a little Q&A, 5 questions, 5 minutes, and get the heck out of here. Hopefully going to be a beautiful day here in Puerto Rico. So, well, it's always beautiful here. What am I saying? It's never bad here. It's great. Okay, and then there's always like a 30-second delay from when I say it to when people actually get their question in. So go from there. Here's a great question. Just, what's your profit-taking strategy? What would you recommend? It depends on your goals. That's what it depends on. Like me, I don't really need a bunch of money. I've got my other businesses, and crypto is just it's just an investment. It's so when I need money, I take it out. And if you just dollar cost average, since I've been doing it since 2017, I have this ability to take money out, and I'm actually profitable. It's great. You should try it. It's fantastic. And that only comes with time, right? So that's my goal. But some people, they have, like my friend George, he always talks about he's like, I'm going to invest into this, and as soon as it doubles, I'm taking my initial investment out, and then I'm just going to let the house money ride. And that's another way to do it. Other people, they will put money in for so much time, and then they will actually look at different TA. They'll look at the MACD, they'll look at the RSI, and they'll say, you know what, this is a good time to take out because I'm at 10% profits and I'm going to take out here. And that to me, that gets confusing. And also, we did the DCA show. It was me, James, and Ben yesterday. Great show. Ben had some good questions. And after the show, we were talking about it. And James was talking about how he's a good trader, but he's like, man, he goes, those capital gains are just killing me. I mean, he pays above 30%. We'll say that for short-term capital gains. And I'm like, dude, why even trade? You're just paying the government. So why even do the short trades? Because you're just paying more for it. First of all, why don't you move down to Puerto Rico if you can? And also check out that video I did. I just did one 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, about the things I've learned in Puerto Rico being here over, roughly a year. So check that out. But again, to answer your question, it's whatever your goals are, right? Mine are just to dollar cost average until I die. And then when I want to take things out for things that I actually need, I'll just do it then. But that's pretty much it. Okay. How are you taking money out? Describe the process. So John, I got to tell you, everybody's different. And I learned this. I was playing volleyball Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. Met a guy named Nate. Good guy. And he was talking about how he's like, I went to this conference and they told me that to make money in crypto, I have to trade and I have to look at all these technical analysis. And I'm really studying, I'm really doing hard. I'm like, what the heck? I go, you don't need to do that. I go, just to throw some things in there, just dollar cost average. This was just investment opinion, not investment advice. I told him, I go, but you don't need to trade. Like what I did is I just invested in 2017, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. And I just put a little bit of money every day or week into certain cryptos that I think are going to be pretty good. Bitcoin, Ethereum being two of them. He's like, really, you do that? Yeah. And I showed him DCABTC.com. This is a great website, DCABTC.com. And it shows you how much you'd make if you just, put in money 4 years ago. So to answer, getting your question, John, how do you take the money out? So there's really two ways to do it. So like I use Voyager a lot. I use Voyager and Gemini and Kraken, even Coinbase sometimes. And I use not Sushi Swap, Uniswap if I can't really find it. And I used to use Gate.io, but they just stopped me because I'm in America. But how do I take it out? To make it the most simple way to do it, on Voyager, if you want to take money out, you just click on, let's say you have Ethereum, right? You click on Ethereum, you say, I want to take out $1,000. And it says, do you want to take that money out? And you slide your thumb and it slides and it takes money and it puts it into your bank account. It's great. Super simple. So if you're looking, hold on. Let me shill for a second. If you're looking for Voyager or Gemini or Celsius or any of those ones to actually, sign up and use it, here's my exchange and wallet fees. There's a link in the description and you can check that out. Also, you get between $25 and $40 of Bitcoin just for signing up. If you hate affiliate links, then just go to the site and you can sign up yourself, but you don't get those deals. So just letting you know that's what's going on. And if you have any questions about how to do that, John, because I know everybody's different, just go to danteacherscrypto.com. In section 1, basics, I show you exactly what I just said, how to buy and how to sell and everything else. That's the first way. The second way is you can do what I do sometimes, which is I take loans against my crypto. I took out a big fat loan for this house with Celsius, and I put up X amount of Ethereum and Bitcoin. And then I took that money out, and now I have the house. But I have to pay back the loan. So, but that's okay because this house will actually do well when we leave, which we're leaving in 2 or 3 weeks to go back to Texas for a bit. We'll be putting this house up on Airbnb, which means it'll make money for me. All right. That's a long answer. Sorry, John. Let's shield that. What's up, man? That's a good question. Theo says, hey, Rob, you think it's a good time to invest in a DeFi index? I don't know if it's a good time now. I tell you, the worst time is never. So that's really all I can tell you. I can't really give you advice on this one. I got to take this from some sniff. Voyager CEO Steve Ehrlich hijacked our assets last year, claiming it was necessary for security purposes. I think that's BS. I wonder if he did this to boost the price of VJX. How long did he take? Your assets, Sniff? How long did he shut down the assets? I don't know. And I know people say, well, I've had a problem with Voyager and I got a problem with Voyager. For every one person I find has a problem with Voyager, I got 10 people who love it. It just depends on who you are, right? Have I had problems with Voyager? Yes. And then I bombard them with their customer support. And every time I follow up with them, I tell them my ticket number, go, look, you haven't answered this question. And they get back to me. And that's it. So I don't know, Sniff, how long he hijacked your stuff. But to be fair to Sniff, there have been some people who have contacted me and go, look, man, I've had this problem for like months. And I talked to Voyager and it was true. And that was an issue that we had to resolve internally with customer support. But there was very, very odd circumstances on 2 of those cases. Great question. Question number 3, do you hold John's channel? Yes, I do hold Solana. And actually, I'm actively dollar cost averaging into Solana right now. Great. I'm not moving back to Texas. I just got to be there for family and take care of some business. Also, we do a charity event for kids, which I have to put together. It's an obstacle course. We do it every year. So I got to go back and build that and market and all that stuff. So I got to go back. We don't live there. We live in Puerto Rico. But I will be in El Paso. I'll be in Houston first, then in El Paso. So maybe I'll do a meetup over there. especially El Paso, baby. Where did it go? Great question. Question number 3. Question number 4? What are your top 3 crypto holdings? Bitcoin, Ethereum, by far are the big 2 right now, and it just makes sense. And then after that, everything kind of drops off. So I guess the third one would be somewhere of a layer 1 solution. It's a toss-up between Cardano and Solana and Polkadot and Avalanche, and I think that's the big ones. So it's a toss-up. The third one is way far down. And I did that consciously because right now I don't see altcoins, like Ben had this question yesterday, and I don't see the altcoins really popping off anytime soon. I think what will pop off first, of course, will be Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then will come the altcoins. When that happens, I'll sell along the way. Ugh, ApeCoin. Hope you guys had fun getting dumped on. Sorry. Nah, I'm sure it'll go up at some point. Yeah, see, some people have no problems. Some people have problems. It's like everything, though. And then, can I buy Luna? You can buy Luna. Do you want to know where to buy it? I'll show you where to buy it. Watch this. Let me share my screen. Nah, not that one. You ever want to find out? I answered this yesterday. So you just go to any of these ones, but I use CoinGecko. And you just go down here to trading pairs. Yeah, there it is. See all the trading pairs. And this is where you can find Luna. If you don't like, well, where do I get it? You can get HitBTC, Binance, Osmosis, MEXC Global, OKX, KuCoin, FTX. You can get it anywhere pretty much. So hopefully I answer your question. And are you officially retired? I haven't worked. This is the last question. We'll get out of here. I have not worked for anybody else besides myself since 2015. Is that right? 2016. Yeah. So after that, I've only worked for myself. And then before that, I had my own businesses, but I would still do my job, which was, I was an intake. Because if you know my history, I was in the Army. I was a medic. And then I stopped the medic and I became a 91 Charlie, just a nurse. Then I got into medical device sales. And then I got into intake coordinators for people going into hospice and home health and stuff like that. So, and I stopped that in 2015, and I haven't just worked for myself. I got to tell you, once you start to work for yourself, you become terminally unemployable. You will never go back. And that's the thing. I know people like, they're all rushing for Lambos and mansions and things like that. But I don't really, all I want is time and just be able to do what I want to do. And that's why, like, sometimes on Twitter, I'll send you like videos and pics of me just at the beach on like a Tuesday at 10 a.m. playing volleyball. I mean, who does that? It's great. And you can do that too at some point. It just takes a little bit of time to get there. That's all I can tell you. All right, so that's it for today. So look, thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Like today's video, give it a thumbs up. If not, thumbs down, and subscribe. Enjoy the weekend. Should be beautiful. Hopefully, world doesn't stay on fire. And that's it. Thanks so much. See you in the next one. Adios.